All right, welcome back to the channel. So back talking about some of my favorite fighters, Jaron Ennis, according to certain fans that have to be addressed, is not ready for Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. Sorry, dog. You guys are making Jaron Ennis the new Boogieman at 147 pounds because I ain't trying to hear it. That dude is ready right now. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to be talking about Jaron Ennis. Oh, and before I do, thank you guys so much for everybody that supports in the super chats Monday through Friday at 8 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Thank you to everybody that supports on the Patreon. We got new content coming over there again. We had something going on over there where I wasn't putting content up over there for a while, but we got more coming over there. Also, thank you everybody that just supports the channel in general. Please support the Instagram. The super chats from the live streams really go a long way for helping with that. Let's get into the subject matter of the video, which is the notion that Jaron Ennis is not ready for Terence Crawford, not ready for Errol Spence Jr. This sounds to me like just Errol Spence Jr. all over again. It sounds like Errol Spence Jr. all over again to me. Jaron Ennis right now, I think, is the top young fighter in boxing, just like I thought Errol Spence was maybe 3-4 years ago. Thought this is the best guy at 147 pounds. I don't think any of these other guys are going to beat Errol Spence Jr. This dude is the truth. And after I said that, it came not because I said that, but I was correct in that assessment. And he wound up going through pretty much everybody that would fight him and getting him to the point now where he has one fight left to hold 3 belts in the welterweight division and 1 fight or 2 fights away from becoming undisputed, right? So, you know, I said the same thing about Errol Spence Jr. then, and Errol Spence Jr. around the time that we started talking about him was going through was going through a bunch of stuff where people were saying, specifically Keith Thurman, you're not ready yet. Yeah, you look like you're good, but you know, you're not quite seasoned. You're not quite ready yet. Let's see what happens in a little while, right? Sean Porter, basically the same thing. Danny Garcia, basically the same thing. They're the established guys in the division. Errol Spence Jr. is the young and up-and-coming guy who's got to prove himself. So, you know, go prove yourself against somebody else. That kind of stuff. Now, in the case of Errol Spence Jr., I know that was coming from boxers, right? In the case of Jaron Ennis, he's earlier in his career, right, and has not gotten to the point where, right, he's the IBF champion or he's the mandatory, you know, for that, for those shots. So they're going to say the same thing. He's not ready. But these are fans saying it. But the same fans were just maybe 2 weeks ago saying that Virgil Ortiz was ready to get Terence Crawford and that Virgil Ortiz would be a really tough fight for Errol Spence. So I'm just struggling to see here. What is it about that you see in Virgil Ortiz that makes Virgil Ortiz ready right now for Terence Crawford that you don't see in Jaron Ennis and where he wouldn't be ready for Terence Crawford? Jaron Ennis outperformed Virgil Ortiz. He looks like he's a all-around better fighter. And I'm going to say this about let me do the bull, okay? Let me name a bunch of fighters, many of which are black, that the same thing applies to with Jaron Ennis. Shakur Stevenson, I don't know. The book is out on him. We'll see when he gets one more fight. But leaving Shakur Stevenson to the side, because I think maybe Shakur Stevenson might have as much as Jaron Ennis. I haven't seen it yet. So as of right now, Shakur Stevenson, who's black, has not shown me what Virgil Ortiz has shown me. Jared Anderson, who I think that dude might be a top 10 heavyweight right now. And he doesn't have very many fights at all. I think he's a terrific talent. I don't think that he's as good as Jaron Ennis, even though, man, that dude is good. Devin Haney, incredible fighter. I do not think that he is as good as Jaron Ennis. And he's ready. He's getting pushed to the point where he's trying to fight these guys, right? Teofimo Lopez, Teofimo Lopez beat Vasily Lomachenko, and that's a great win. Jaron Ennis, let him have Josh Taylor. Love to see the fight. I think he'll wash him. But I think that his future's just as bright as Teofimo Lopez, and I think he's a better all-around fighter, man. A better all-around fighter. And I think you can judge that a little bit by the Nakatani fight and the second half of the Lomachenko fight. Because though he did beat Vasily Lomachenko, I'm not so sure in a rematch. Straight up, I think if Vasily Lomachenko starts earlier, I think Vasily Lomachenko may get him. There's a good chance that Vasily Lomachenko was any bigger, he would have knocked him out. That was not the type of fight that Jaron had with Sergie Lipinets, giving you, however, that Lomachenko and Lipinets are two different level of fighters. That is obvious. However, at the very least, I think it's safe to say people thought that Teofimo Lopez was ready for Lomachenko. So what's the difference between Nakatani, right, and Sergie Lipinets? Not much. So before, in order to get the shot against Lomachenko, what did Teofimo Lopez prove to get that shot? And when he got that shot, he followed up and he won the fight. Why can't Jaron Ennis do the same thing? I'll tell you why. Because people don't want him to. Don't want him to. Don't want him to get the Terence Crawford fight. Don't want him to get the Errol. Now here's the thing. I believe they would want him to get the Errol Spence fight. Certain people. They would love that fight. Yeah. Errol Spence and you risk all three of your belts against Jaron Ennis, who we know is a dangerous fight for you, for sure. But no, Terence Crawford, you don't have to do that. We'll just wait. We'll just add Jaron Ennis to the plan of you moving out of the division when you're done, and Terence Crawford and top-ranked fighters picking up all the spare belts. Let's stick with that. Let's stick with that. No, if Errol Spence moves up, what's his name? Terence Crawford needs to fight Jaron Ennis. Period. Do you see that happening? I don't. I see a lot of Hollywood going on and a lot of he's not ready. Who did he fight? Who did he fight? He's not beating anybody. Who did he fight? How many people do we have to go through this with? Jermell, we got to go through that with Jermell. We got to go through that with Jamal. We went through that for the little while with Errol Spence. Trust me, as soon as Terence Crawford is asking for a fight with somebody they don't want him to fight, they'll be saying the same thing about Terence Crawford. Well, who did he fight? Dude, I thought you were the same guy saying that he was the greatest in the world when you were trying to diss Errol Spence Jr. Oh, well, that's with Errol, you know how that is. We were talking about Errol. He's all good when we're talking about Errol. But when we're talking about somebody else, oh no, he's garbage. You know what I mean? It just depends on who you're talking about. That type of nonsense that you see. Regardless, I think he's ready. And to boot, I'm going to tell you, I think that there's a chance that this is a special fighter. This is no diss on any of the guys that I've talked about, including Errol Spence. I think Errol Spence is a special fighter. I think Jaron Ennis is a special fighter too. And the thing is, dude, sometimes when you see something, it really is what it looks like. Sometimes you see it and you should be like, yeah, I believe it. With Roy Jones Jr., early in his career, when you saw it, you should believe it. Until he lost his physicality, lost his ability to really move, dude, he was everything that they said he was. He was ready for everybody that he said he was ready for. He's just a special fighter. Same thing for Floyd Mayweather Jr. People said for years Floyd Mayweather Jr. had no chance against Oscar De La Hoya. He's too small. He doesn't deserve the fight, yada, yada, yada. But we saw what happened when he got the fight, and you saw what happened afterwards. But trust me, or at least don't trust me, watch him. There's a whole lot of people that know perfectly well how good Jaron Ennis is, and they don't like it. And because he poses a dang near sure loss for the fighters that they want to be the next champion. So let's not fall for it, boxing fans. Let's not fall for it. These guys need to fight Jaron Ennis. Jaron Ennis is ready. And hey, like Jaron Ennis said, maybe he needs to get to a mandatory position to get it. But that's what he needs to do to force these guys to fight him. Because otherwise, other than Errol Spence Jr., I don't see these guys having it. I don't see them having the heart to do it, honestly. But that's my take on the matter. You let me know what your take is. And with that, I'm out. Peace.